Good morning, Hazel. Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Seb.
Hiya. So, we're having a chat this morning, and um, the theme is revolving around people talk about a paradigm shift, and we know we're in a transition on the planet, and there's lots of change afoot, and we're evolving, and lots of people refer to that and talk about that. So, we're talking about consciousness and people's personal experience and process with that. And yeah, I know the way you work with many people, and you've been I call you a doula in my life. You've helped me through some quantum shifts, and whenever I'm feel like I'm in a kind of an initiation period, you really help me to birth through that. And as you say, the fundamental is it's about spirit, spirit, bringing more spirit into the body, and how we connect with that larger part of ourselves, and bring more ease and joy into our lives, and align with this new age and the evolution that's happening on the planet. So, question. Talking about consciousness and how that interacts with the body, and how to bring us to facilitate that in the body. What do you see? What do you see as the main? What comes up the most with people in terms of working with people to facilitate that?
Okay, well, yeah, it's true. We are in what is called the golden age, and we tiptoed in 2012, and now with this solstice that's just happened in 2017, the whole platform foundation for what a lot of people are calling New Earth is in place. But remember, it's a level of consciousness. It's not anywhere we're going to travel to. It's the consciousness that the human can hold within themselves that creates their reality. Consciousness is affected by our limiting beliefs, our human beliefs, and it's those very things that drag us down as though we've got a huge anchor tied around our waist, the bottom of the ocean, and we keep trying to break loose from it to get to this heaven on earth. Okay, now this anchor in the bottom of the ocean that we're tied to has the ability to literally drown us as humans, metaphorically speaking. And those elements, those limiting beliefs that could drown us in our bodies, in our lungs, in our hearts, in our liver, our pancreas, in our gallbladder, that in the very viscera of our body and in our cells. So my passion is to guide people to the spirit, that is God. Only God is spirit in the context of this conversation, so it's spirit with a big S. And God is the essence of everything that is created on this planet. So, for example, God, the consciousness of creation, the creative force is in stones. Stones still have consciousness, but for example, if we were to listen or had the ability to listen, we put our hand on a stone and we could interpret its beingness, it would probably take a week for us to hear one sentence from the stone. And the sound is just like that. So it's like, and it's that really slow because a stone is very, very dense, totally unconscious as the stone, but it's still got consciousness. Okay, so that's one level. And then God created the plants and everything else. He created the plants, the mountains, the rivers. We call it diva consciousness, and it's the backdrop to this beautiful planet that humans then started to inhabit. So God created the consciousness of plants, rivers, mountains, and through plants, they're a step up from stones, right? Plants and trees have an even looser consciousness, and God breathes through them. Okay, that's why it's so important to get out into nature and to link with elementals, you know, the sprites and all of those levels of consciousness. There's another level of consciousness of the spirit, the great spirit, okay? And then we have animals as another level of consciousness. And animals live by instinct, which is a direct connection with that creative force, the spirit, and their body. Their minds never, ever, ever interfere. In other words, they only live in the now. They have emotions, of course they do, but they're in the now. Okay? And then we have the next level of consciousness, which is humans. And God, the spirit, awakens in man and woman, but let's just using mankind, okay? So God awakens in man, in the human. Now, what does that mean? That means that the difference between us and every other conscious living thing is that we have a mind that we are conscious of because we know we can think, okay? So we have this human mind that links with our brain that then causes the body to operate, okay? So that's really 3D stuff. And while we're talking about 3D, people that live consciously in 3D, they're living by default. In other words, they believe everything happens to them and not by them and from them. That's what I mean by that. And I will interject here that people who live in fourth density, in the fourth dimension, if there's any conflict going on in the mind and the body, there's any arguing, judgments and all of that, then we're living in fourth dimensional consciousness, okay? So although we are above the 3D, we're not living by default and just, you know, couch potato, everything happening to us. We're now realizing we've got all these conflicts within us, and that's called 4D, fourth density. And that's where most of the human race are living, okay? Everybody knows when they don't feel right. Everybody knows when they feel angry. They might deny it. They might make themselves go numb, their nervous system go numb, but they know. So that's fourth density, and that's where we all are as a race. The essence of it, the majority of us, billions of us are there. Okay? And we're now headed to the next level, which is fifth density, which is the beginning of love and light. And I call it mastering bliss. Okay? Bliss isn't bells and whistles and shiny objects. It's a quiet joy that is so beautiful. It's like champagne bubbles running through the body all the time. So that, as a species, is where we are headed. Now, to get there, we've got to wipe the mind absolutely clean, squeaky clean of everything that is human. Does that all make sense so far?
Yes.
The way I'm talking, good. Is there anything that crops up in your mind to kind of clarify for the sake of people who might listen to this after?
No, I think we're going along, and that will come. It will clear.
So we just carry on.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to the stage where now there are teachers and mentors on the planet that are helping people to neutralize, all right, perhaps is a better word than cleaning, wiping clean, neutralize all of the heavy thoughts and emotions, all right? So now, I know a lot of my clients, they believe they've cleared the mental body, right, which is a container of limiting beliefs, much like the analogy I use is a deep sea diving suit. And these are all like containers restricting us. And the further we go with our evolution of the species, our evolution of consciousness, the more subtle these mental containers get. But they're still mental containers that keep us from God, the Spirit, the Great Spirit. Okay? So we're helping people to neutralize their dense emotions of anger, rejection, abandonment, confusion, doubt, dislike, hate. All of those traits are human. A lot of people are not going to like to hear what I'm going to say next, but humans do not know how to love, be at peace, or live from joy. Many have dipped their toes in and are up to their ankles in living from that way. And those people are well on their way to living from this higher consciousness that we're going to call 5D now, heaven, paradise. And in actual fact, as a side bit, I used to work in spiritualist churches, way back, 3 decades ago and more. And what we're coming into, which is going to blow some people's minds, is we're opening our consciousness to where dead people go to. They go to the 5th dimension. And when we open our consciousness sufficiently by taking away those limiting beliefs of what is real and what is not real, we will begin, like me, everyone else will begin to see dead people and realize, oh my God, they're not dead, and initially they will look exactly as we look, but we can shapeshift at that level, all right, into something more beautiful. Yeah.
So we're transitioning from a 3D operating system, and we always have a connection with our spirit, and some people call it our higher self, don't we? And
yeah, that would be spirit said with a little s. The I am presence, the higher self, the soul. And then beyond that, we've got God. Okay, so God creates the I am presence, the higher self, if you like, the soul, and the soul throws into different realities, different dimensions. Like for me, I'm in the 3rd dimension. I came to the earth, so did you and everybody else on the planet. Okay, it is the I am presence that, using the essence of God, okay, which is in everything, throws us into the reality that we end up in, which for us was 3D. Okay, make sense?
Yeah.
So we've got God, we've got the I am awareness, presence, soul, higher self, all the same thing. We use 1,000 words to confuse everybody, and then we that level of ourselves then throws many aspects of itself as consciousness into many timelines and dimensions. Okay, so Hazel's on this timeline, born into 3D, worked through 4D, the conflicts within me. I've ended up in 5D. That's the timeline I'm on. But during the course of my life as Hazel, and the thoughts, the choices, and the decisions I made took me into a labyrinth of other timelines, which are sometimes called probable realities, alternative realities, and so on. But I pulled myself out of those to get back onto the timeline that fulfills me, that I came here with a strong purpose in my body, in my DNA to fulfill. Does that make sense about the other timelines and how we create them? We've got thousands of them. And the thing is, we have to collapse those. We have to create what we started to create. And we meet those timelines in our dream state. We could dream, for example, me of ex-partners and so on, and I wake up in a sweat. I've really experienced that. It's a real timeline. And I have consciously shut that down. No. Now, the more timelines, the more thoughts and emotions that we don't want, the more we shut down, the more our focus is refined into that eye of the needle. So for me now, I don't have many timelines because I'm really focused. I've done the work on shutting down everything that I didn't want. It wasn't easy. It was a real challenge a lot of the time emotionally. Okay, but something kept driving me forward. So now, at the moment in my life as Hazel, there are very few humans that I want to physically interact with. Okay, because don't want to. They just are not on my wavelengths. They're not on my timeline. It's not to say that they won't come back in at some stage. Who knows?
Sure.
It's a case of said, I decided this is where I'm going. Who's coming with me?
Yeah, and you've been committed to, if you like, that that higher frequency. We all have that I am presence, that higher self, that aspect of spirit that's rooting for us and connecting with us. And the idea, I guess, is that aspect of us is always calling us to that highest path that you're saying that you've been committed to, and that you and there's going to be meandering and different ways that we prevent that gap from closing between our experience of ourselves as that and all of the human, the nonsense, let's call it.
Yeah.
So we all have that aspect of ourselves, right? And that aspect of ourselves is always rooting for us and is always going to be attempting to bring us in situations where we have the opportunity to clear our beliefs.
Yeah.
And so on that level, then we're talking about mentally clearing those beliefs, and then you were saying viscerally in the body, these beliefs exist in the cells in our body and the organs in our body. And so is that somewhere where people get a bit tripped up in terms of having done the work mentally, but in their bodies, these obstacles are still preventing that connection with their higher self?
Absolutely. It's preventing the higher self coming more and more into the body. Now, this is where, so we're going to leave the higher levels of what we've been talking about now. And although there isn't any higher or lower, it's all one really. But for the sake of language, I'm just going to say that, okay? So now we come to the human nervous system, which is a very physical thing, runs down the spine, the central nervous system. We all have one. Animals have one as well. Plants have a nervous system. So we come to this where we either have a regulated nervous system or a dysregulated one. Now, what does that mean? That means from the moment we are born, our nervous system, we have a vagus nerve here, and that is not fully developed in a newborn. And it is down to the prime carer who's looking after that baby, the mother usually, the father, you know, almost up there, but, you know, secondary, of course. And if the mother is not able to interact with the child in a healthy way, from a nervous system way, like i.e. smiling at the baby, chuckling, talking, letting the baby see the eyes and so on, picking the baby up when it's in distress, comforting it, attuning to the baby's nervous system, the baby's needs. If the mother is not able, through ignorance or through mental health issues, whatever, and I believe everyone on the planet has had or has got mental health issues, so let's not sweep that aside. There's all different degrees of it, from being fed up to bipolar and beyond. Okay, so I took that on board. Yeah, I can see where, you know, I've been almost bipolar kind of thing. So I want to make that clear. There's no excuses here. It is what it is. And science is actually proving this now through neuroplasticity and so on. So to come back to that, if a baby does not have that, and I know I didn't have it, and I know probably 90% of the babies born do not have a mother who's got a regulated, healthy nervous system. Okay, it's coming, and science is now proving it. So if we have a mother who cannot interact with the baby or does not interact with the baby in the way that I've just said, or they leave the baby to cry themselves to sleep, which is absolutely shocking, then the baby, the nervous system of the baby will go into fight or flight. Of course, it can't fight, it can't run, so it goes into freeze. And it numbs itself, the nervous system, right down. Right? And many people who try to soothe their babies and so on, and the baby just drops to sleep like that, that is not soothing a baby. That is the baby going into freeze mode, into numbness. Now remember, that baby's a soul. It's just trying to operate through a body that's a week old and a month old and 5 years old. All right? These babies are magnificent souls, and they are fully aware. But the body dictates that it grows a certain way. The body has its own consciousness, its own, obviously, in the cells, in the middle of every cell, it's the nucleus, is the spark of God. So every cell in the body has that guiding, divine guiding intelligence that makes it a liver or a heart or a kidney, right? So coming back to the dysregulated nervous system, if a baby has that, and most do, as I said to you, I had it, we can't fight and we can't run. So we go into freeze mode. And almost from day one, we're going numb because no one's helping us. This little body, this nervous system that's growing, okay? And if the mother is still unaware, that carries on through all of our life. And people often say to me, I don't know why I'm so scared. Because it's the freeze mode, the terror. Freeze mode is terror. No one's coming. No one's coming to help me. All right? That baby's laying there. The body of the soul, the baby, is lying in that cot, waiting for someone to come, and no one comes. And then parents wonder why their children are acutely shy or whatever. They can't face going to school. They scream and kick, you know, don't leave me, mummy, don't leave me. All that stuff goes on because of what I'm talking about now. So the child goes on, parents remain in ignorance. Bit harsh, but it's the truth. You know, there is truth or there is not truth, you know. So then the child goes on and it starts to tries to cope. So it shuts its feelings down, goes into the head, tries to live its life best it can from that other dimension, that mental structure that is connected to the brain. And the brain's job is to keep the body alive. All right, and so we're getting into a little bit of post-traumatic stress here, which is what birth can be. You know, it can be that the baby, I'll just touch on this, is born to a very conscious mother, but if the birth was difficult, if it was a cesarean or an emergency cesarean, and the baby hasn't been able to fulfill that pushing out, wants to push out because that's nature, its body getting in to do that. But a cesarean, they don't fulfill that pushing out. And I'm not saying this across the board, but that can lead to a child that parents would call lazy. They've got no oomph because they couldn't oomph and push themselves out. And the body will need to carry that through for it to come to completion. Or the child might go to school. So this is all going in the nervous system, remember? This all comes back to the nervous system. And a young chap, young 22-year-old chap, came to me yesterday and he's depressed. Oh my God, the poor soul is a lovely, lovely lad. No mistake, his soul is obviously in the transition. He's going to be in 5D because that's the way it's going. So I asked him what his worst memory was. So he said, oh, I can't remember. Anyway, he did. We just sat quietly. I showed him a few poses, if you like, that regulate the nervous system and start to bring that adrenaline and cortisol down. So we nurture the kidneys and the feet and so on. And it just helped him to relax. He's got all this adrenaline and cortisol going around in his body and he feels like he's walking around like this, okay? So this is the body totally. Nothing to do with his I am presence, okay? His I am presence might have led him to me, but nothing to do with that level of him. He's got to clear this up first so that his I am can pour into his nervous system and take it over with light, okay? So at 10 years old, he was at boarding school. At 10 years old, he was really bullied really badly by a lot of people. So I asked him could he see the bullies and that? And he said, well, there's so many of them. I said, well, pick one. So he picked one and we put the rest in a cage. That was through his mind, okay? He liked that, he smiled. Getting in control now, all right? He's changing his beliefs, which are housed in his nervous system. So he had this one bully and I said to him, right, close your eyes, feel your feet, let's get grounded as best we can, because he can't be fully in his body because he's got all this acute sadness, anger and grief going on. So the I am can't come into that until it's clear. So he got an image of this boy who was bullying him big time, and I just said to him, do you ever whatever you want to that lad, do it in your mind's eye. Let your body do it, but you've got to feel it. You can't just think it. That is mindfulness, and it gets us nowhere. Same as meditation. Meditation is a bridge to get people to the I am. That's what meditation is. So meditating on what's wrong with your body is not going to help your body release what's in it. So he sat there, this lad, going back to the story of the session. He sat there, and all of a sudden I could see him getting twitchy. I could feel it. Something wanted to burst out of him. His fingers started going like that. He got really fidgety. Now, if he was in class doing that, the teacher would have probably pulled him up and said, sit still. Total wrong thing to do. Anyway, I got him up and I just said to him, I want you to stamp that out. This is that energy that wanted to escape when you were being bullied but couldn't. That you just stayed there and looked at the bully and almost, you know, were going to wet yourself. And he said, yeah, that's true. And I said, that energy is still in you. The energy that wanted to fight, that wanted to run away all at the same time has frozen in you and made you freeze. So it's a bit like having your foot on the brake on the car and on the accelerator at the same time. We're just burning and going nowhere. Anyway, bless him. He was so brave to face this with me. And I just said to him, look me in the eye, we can do this. And we just jumping up and down, and I was doing it with him, and he was kickboxing and all of this. Literally, he wanted to get out of a box. Imagine what that's like. And he did. Then that was the rage coming out. So we're titrating it. We're just doing it a little bit at a time, remember, because he's really overwhelming. And this can lead to really drastic actions that the chap would have taken. Anyway, so he did that. Oh, and all of a sudden I saw his face go really white and drained. His blood was draining down. So this is good work. But you can't leave that boy, well, man really, but boy to me, in that situation. So I just said to him, okay, stand still, feel your feet. Look into my eyes, what's going on now? And he said, I feel really, really sick. I said, okay, that's another part of what happened, because when that was happening, you would have felt really, really sick to your stomach. And that feeling's got to come out of your body. It's still there. Because he goes about his whole life feeling sick, nauseous. So I said to him, now you might well vomit, literally, after this session. But if you don't, just sit down and allow your body to gag, like, you know, as if you're doing that, and it'll really bring stuff up out of your guts, literally. So this is apparent, like to people who've got constipation. This is one of the things that could be happening to them, okay? Because they're holding on, and they don't know how to let that go. Okay, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the session to the stage where he wasn't feeling sick, and I could also tell that he was in his mind, in one of his mental containers. He hated school, severely dyslexic. He went to a state-mentored school, which really, you know, is...
Would a mental container be sort of a like an operating system, a way of seeing the world, a kind of survival-oriented way of...
A filter, yeah. The mental containers are like filters, beliefs, filters, same thing. Yeah, exactly. So we got ourselves, me and the lad, to this stage where he wasn't nauseous. He knew there was more, but also one of his other containers, like I was saying, is he hated school because he couldn't cope, right? Because of his nervous system in his early years and so on. So I said to him, well, I know you've had enough, because it's a bit like a classroom and it reminds you of that. So, you know, give me a nice big smile. Let me feel that go down your body into your legs, and I'll see you next week, okay? So that's how we ended that session. But the whole point of me explaining it here in depth is that was locked in his nervous system, not his soul, his higher mind. It was filtered by his mental beliefs that there's a lot of bullies out there. You know, a bit scared here, I feel sick here, because he's still got that energy in his guts and for his stomach,
Mm.
his stomach, okay? And we got a lot of that out. But you can't fix this in 1 hour.
No.
A lot of people come to me and they say, well, how many sessions will it take? How long will it take? You know, we just got to get it out.
Mm.
But it is pretty quick. When you do it with a mentor, a teacher that knows what they're doing, that can see the energy and that can understands the nervous system and understands the I am and understands the mind.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So you can go to many practitioners and think, I've done this, I've done that, and I've done all the mental and all the emotional. And they come to me and I say, yeah, but you haven't done the body. You haven't cleared it from the organs in your body which carry our emotions. Emotions and the body are like that, the best friends. Okay, you've got joy in there as well, of course, but joy is the higher self, you know. And I would add here as well that the higher self, with people that live by default, 3D humans, it operates through the conscience. And everyone's got a conscience which is the higher self, you know, just a trickle of it coming in, but we've all got it. Now, there are some people on the planet that even ignore that. The more you ignore it, the more you ignore it, the more you put like a cork in the stopper. And those people are what we call psychopaths and sociopaths. All right? They've stopped that incoming stream as much as they can. And all they've got is their mental container and their body.
Yeah.
And the divine intelligence keeping the body going.
Yeah. So the more...
Psychopath. Okay.
The more we're in our limiting human beliefs and in our traumatized nervous system, the more we're inaccessible for that guidance, right? And for us, our spirit.
Yeah.
Forming.
And I call these people subhuman because they are. All right. They've lost their humanity. All right. Now, not to confuse that with everybody that, like a terrorist, for example, I'm not lumping them all together. To me, when I've felt into some terrorists, which I have, their back is against the wall. They are so desperate that they're going to do anything to change their existence, but they don't have the knowledge because their nervous system's been steeped in anger and war and conflict and so on all their lives. So just because someone's a terrorist doesn't mean they're a psychopath. It's different. I just want to make that clear. All right, we're just being very, very general here. Okay.
So this work, this body work, and supporting the nervous system is the final frontier, right? This is where
I believe it's the missing link that I truly feel that humanity, no matter how enlightened people think they are, unless we heal our nervous system, we can't take our bodies, which is what people are calling ascension, into this higher level of consciousness fully. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess that
remember, we are our consciousness, and as our consciousness changes, so our bodies will thrive. Like mine, for example, as you know, I'm 65. I've come through a lot of dense energy from, the end of World War II to now. And a lot of that was in my body. There's still some to go. So I was drawn to work with a wonderful teacher on the nervous system and neuroplasticity and all of that stuff. That's where I've learned about my nervous system and put the protocol into practice. Very, very simple, but very powerful.
Yeah.
So what I want to add there is, but I also fast and detox my body, that people would think she's off the wall, But my consciousness, which is changing my body kind of demands that I do this in order for me to feel really good physically and therefore emotionally, because that brings up residue. Fasting brings up everything if you're doing it consciously. You're fasting in the right way to support your body, the organs in the body while you're fasting with herbs and tinctures and so on. Then for me, that's what I want. I truly feel I can do this, and I'm going all out in joy. I'm not doing it for punishment. I'm doing it because that's where I'm headed. So at the moment, I could say I'm living 50% of the time as a breatharian, okay, and 50% of the time, let's just say human, with my human body and so on. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up what I love. You know, food is delicious, absolutely, but I'm just not being gluttonous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going over the top. I'm not addicted to food. And this is the thing, that another container, people will say, okay, I'm a vegetarian. Oh, I'm not addicted to food. I'm a vegan. Oh, I'm a raw food. I'm not addicted to food. Take all that away and we'll see where the addictions are and the deep attachments to everything 3D, because food is 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, makes sense? Am I making sense? So I am going through this right now, even as we speak, and I will continue, and it will become a way of life. But like I said, it doesn't mean I'm giving up everything I love. I love a drop of whiskey, as you know. I'm not giving that up, but obviously I'm not having it now. But I've put a certain time on this round of cleansing my body as much as I can, which means, you know, I take activated charcoal, bentonite clay, psyllium husks, herbs and tinctures to support my body. But I'm not going to stop my social life with my family and so on. So when I meet with them, I will have a meal with them, like a large salad or whatever, you know, but it won't be dairy or meat, because now my system is so refined. They are dense foods, right? I used to love cheese, absolutely adore it. But now I'm coming out of that density physically. The thought of it literally makes me feel sick.
Yeah, well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, as you're so committed to the non-physical, and bringing, and it becomes more and more relevant, and
I'm so committed to the non-human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to have a physical body. I've still got this physical body that
that's kind of the paradox, isn't it? That we have this aspect to us, our spirit, if you like, that is non-physical, and yet this final frontier is like, wow, we really have to focus physically and get the
it's a wonderful experiment, because we're going to take this body with us. It's called the rapture. It's called ascension. It's called whatever you want to call it. But the Bible calls it rapture. New Agers call it ascension. I just call it a change in consciousness. Because when people of 3D pass over, all they do is go unconscious for a bit. And then they become conscious again, and they wake up in 5D, what spiritualists used to call the Summerland. And they wake up there fully conscious, more conscious than they ever were as a human. But they've still got a body. They've still got form, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to eat, but they can if they want to. Could they create it? And that's what I'm starting to do now. I've never gone unconscious.
So
I never died to experience this. So I could have died. Let's say in 2012 I could have died, and I could have woken up, gone unconscious for how many years in our time? Because remember, it's outside of time and space. Because some of the gifts that start coming through is we can compress time. We can expand time, even as I'm talking to you. Our gifts, they're not really gifts, good. They're attributes of 5D consciousness. So they're not gifts, they're our attributes. So we notice that as we think, so it starts to come about immediately. Not straight away, you know, as we're transitioning, but there'll be less of a time lapse between us thinking something and it happening before. You know, now things are happening faster, because that means we're collapsing time. Time is a mental concept. There's no such thing as time. Time is an emotional, gravitational attribute of 3D density.
So we're accessing more and more, hopefully, our natural attributes, and we're in this transition period, and we're looking, aren't we, to support ourselves to make that transition. So that wisdom is returning and available in terms of the importance of regulating our nervous system and de-traumatizing. And so it behooves us to search out, doesn't it, those places where we can connect with what's really happening, and in some way release that, express it, get in touch with it. And because in the mainstream and in society, it's not particularly acceptable, is it, to go and really connect with your anger and viscerally express that and release it. But that, what we're saying is actually it's really
exactly what we should do.
Fundamental and exactly what we should be doing. So yeah.
And really, you know, if you're a teacher and you're teaching young children and they get you know, restless at the school desk, get them up dancing, singing, jumping about. That's, you know, playtime and sport was such an important part of bringing our children up to have a regulated nervous system. And even that went, so we could go into the matrix here and art and all of that, how they clamped down on all of that, no music lessons, no art, no any of that. That really squashes the nervous system.
So for those of us that are, sorry, what were you going to say?
No,
committed to this spiritual path, let's call it, and have this awareness of the importance of clearing our beliefs, and are looking to support that on a physical level. And we become aware of some of the stuff that we've been holding on to physically, just coming back to supporting, holding that so that our spirit can infuse. Because what I hear you saying is that we're creating that clear space in our body so that our spirit can infuse our body, and we become this.
Yeah, we are. We're clearing
passion of who we are.
Yeah. To give you an example, okay, adrenaline and cortisol come from the kidneys and the adrenal glands, and it goes around the body, and we walk about like this all the time. You know, I used to do. I mean, obviously physically I wasn't, but I felt like it. Okay, so I have an MP3 that if anyone listening to this wants, that I created. I call it muscular relaxation. It's tensing and relaxing all the major organs in the body. So, you know, you can ask me and I will send that to you. It's free, or it's on my website. And so that's one of the first things. Relax the body. So important for the body to be relaxed. Relaxation is expansion. Okay. Tension is contraction, the small me. I can't. Expansion is I can. I feel so good. Right, now, like I said, we've got kidneys, we've got adrenal glands. Well, most people have got two of each. And that, the adrenaline, the cortisol going around the body makes us feel like that, so relax. But we have to nurture the kidneys and the adrenal glands. So a simple thing, warm your hands up, or get a hot water bottle or a heat pad, and just place it where you think your kidneys should be, which is usually just around the middle of the back, just below the waistline, right? I mean, my hands are really big and I can feel my whole back with them, okay? So I'm there now, and I'm just, with my mind, I'm using my mind to just think of my kidneys and my lovely adrenal glands. It's like, oh, and we can imagine.
Where are the adrenal glands? So the kidneys.
On top of the kidneys. Imagine you've got the kidneys. We know what they look like, don't we, from kidney beans. Yeah. On top, imagine you've got a little gland. Think of it like a sun hat on top of the kidneys.
Okay.
Obviously, it's where the adrenaline comes from. Most of us got too much of it. All right. So
what is its function? Its helpful function?
Well, the adrenaline gets us going. If we didn't have any adrenaline, we'd never get out of bed in the morning. Literally, we wouldn't be able to get up. Okay, so it's to motivate us, but not to keep us aroused and motivated.
Yeah.
If we're going to go for a run, the adrenals are going, right? You know, we're getting adrenal, we can run, we can swim, we can do all of that. But when we come against a frightening situation like being bullied, whoa, they go big time and we want to run away. But we don't run because we're too scared. So that adrenaline's staying in our body. It's got to go somewhere. And unless we run it out of us in that instance, the chap wanted to run. There are people who go to the dentist and so scared, they just want to get out of the chair and they never do. That's adrenaline. And unless they literally get up out of the chair, they're not going to use that adrenaline. stays in the body.
Yeah.
Hence, they walk about highly stressed.
Yeah, it's the wrong kind of fuel, isn't it? It's not designed to be the fuel to keep us going. Our spirit is supposed
No, well, if you watch an animal will come up against the predator, and if the predator gets the animal, there's a really good video on YouTube. If people want it, I can send that to them. The animal is being, so say you've got a deer and a tiger's attacking it, getting it by the throat, and then another predator like a hyena comes in, okay, and the tiger drops the deer, but the deer's not dead, but it lays there really, really, it's gone into freeze mode. The tiger and the hyena start fighting, and the deer takes the opportunity to run away. So he gets all that adrenaline out of him, and the next thing you know, he's calm, back with his herd, and eating the grass or whatever they eat. Humans don't do that. When we're bullied, that stays in us, and we go frozen. So we've literally kind of frozen that adrenaline and cortisol in us. So we're stressed all the time.
Okay. And
people blame it on their job. People blame it on their family.
Yeah, and we can hold our kidneys and the adrenals and vision.
So the first thing, we're going to start really nurturing our kidneys and adrenals by putting warmth there. Warmth is an expression of love. Coldness is the opposite. We know that, hot and cold, okay? So we've got this, or a hot water bottle is good, or a heat pad. Just warm your hands and just put them there. Just imagine your beautiful kidneys and your adrenal glands in a deck chair in the sunshine. They're taking all that light from the sun, which is from God. Didn't it just make you want to go? So you start coming down into the parasympathetic nervous system and relaxing, soothing. So we just take time. You can do this anywhere. You can even stand in a supermarket like it. People just think you've got backache, it doesn't matter.
So what's the parasympathetic nervous system?
That's where, when we're coming down and we're winding down from the end of the day, we're going to relax and we're going to read a book, and we're just, like slipping into a lovely warm bath. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. But if you're still up in that arousal state, you're going to be fidgety. I don't want a bloody bath, and all of this going on. Put your hands.
And I suppose there's nothing wrong with arousal. The distinction here is that
no, we need arousal.
Yeah. What we're identifying is that
it's like this, Seb. We've got to be aroused, come down, rest, come up, aroused to get through the day, enjoy the day.
Yeah.
We're anticipating what we're doing. We're aroused because we're excited. We're happy to be. All excitement. Not hyper. We're coming down to rest, to sleep, to rest, to come up, to be aroused for that, for what
we want to clear what it is that we hold into our bodies that stimulates that arousal from a place of survivaling and fear. And that's the distinction we're making, isn't it? So the arousal comes from a place of joy and we're balanced. So the fear.
Can I just finish that off, love? So if you're holding your kidneys and you're getting really quiet and you're not thinking, take 10 seconds not to think, like, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No thinking, just sensation in the body. And that will start to break some of these thoughts that just go round and round. Just take 10 seconds to, not think. Okay, thinking is bad for us, truly. So we're holding the kidneys. You do this a few times and the kidneys will start to speak to you. They will start to give you thoughts, and usually images, but thoughts can come up as well from the body to the brain, hence to the mind, so that we can understand it. And you will begin to get images, feelings and thoughts around what happened to keep you in that highly aroused state for so long. Likewise, if you've broken a bone, it's called containment, we contain that. Anyone who's broken a bone and they haven't dealt with the emotion, they're going to have that stuck in their body and start going stiff. All right? So someone, for example, let's just say you've broken your collarbone and it was so painful, but you just kept saying, no, I'm all right, and you never actually allowed that pain to come out, all right? That's still going to be there. It's got to be dealt with.
Mm.
I think I've finished that round. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So part of the clearing is about bringing awareness to our body without thought.
Yes, just feeling the sensation. Okay, so for the heart, for example, you take your right hand, put it here, to the left side, just where where your heart would be. For example, it's roughly there, isn't it? In most people, we've got their hearts on the left side of the body, and I've put my other hand here, and I'd just be containing my beautiful heart, holding myself. Where once upon a time I wanted someone else to hold me. But this is self-reliance. This is regulating my nervous system.
Right.
I was brought up with a very dysfunctional mother. I don't ever remember sitting on her lap or being held. I'm holding and loving myself.
So it's just unconditional, and there's no and that.
Just banish that word unconditional. What does that mean? Love is love. People put unconditional there. What does that mean? What is conditional love?
So no thinking.
Yeah, no thinking, Seb.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling my heart. And as I'm feeling it, although I'm speaking words, I'm not thinking. I'm holding my heart in this container, and I'm feeling very, very joyful. That's mine. I am the light.
Well, there may be some sadness that comes up, right? And so,
did we do this the other day? Did I do this?
We did.
So, something come up. Oh no, that was something different. Sorry, but yeah, you might have real tears come up, heartache. Tears and grief are held in the lungs. Okay, so we're dealing with the heart. So it might be that your whole body will start to ache. Your chest might. I just ache. Heartache. Okay, so and that will be, you'll feel that in your chest. You won't feel it in your legs, because that's not about heartache. Okay. So we're just holding that. We can do that right now. And as you say, Seb, no thoughts. Thoughts will totally interfere. We want no opinion, no judgment, no resistance, no insistence, and no persistence. They're all mental containers. So we're holding our beautiful hearts. So these are just two very simple things, but you've got to be conscious, not thinking while you're doing it.
Yeah. And so that's a way of bringing presence to our body and the organs in our body, so that what's held there, what we're saying is the nervous system and the organs house our beliefs. So what's held there can release. So it
comes up, like I said to you, it will show itself as an image, or you'll be conscious of where that came from. It'll just be quick like that with some people. Other people, it'll take time. The thing with this is to titrate it, to go slowly. And then
we've
been through so much, and it's shocking what we've been through, and we've dumbed it down. We've numbed it down in the way that I've said, in our nervous system. So we don't want anyone going into any kind of epileptic fit or anything like that, They will, but you could be overwhelmed. If you are, just let the feelings out. Yourself in a safe place and howl till you don't want to howl anymore. Hold yourself in the fetus position until your body tells you enough, which means you will have the feeling to get up and go and get a drink or whatever, and get a good mentor who knows what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, beautiful. And it's very simple, and I hear how fundamental it is for us to have opportunities and create the space to connect with our body and bring this no thought and holding to it. Yeah.
So in that way, we're clearing the mental level of ourselves from everything that was human, all those limiting beliefs. Everything human is inside out and upside down. We all know that. We've only got to look at the chaos in the world. We know that. We've only got to look at the way parenting goes on now. How many people are consciously parenting our beautiful future? How many? In the way that you and I understand it. I didn't know this when I had my daughter. I wish I did. But by golly, I know it now. I've got a grandson. My daughter's doing fine.
Just coming back to a little on that process, how important is the visualization as well? With the
Well,
kid.
you've got to feel it.
Yeah.
So if you don't visualize it, don't worry. Just feel what comes up. If you get visualization, it's a bonus. But if people visualize and just try and think their way through it, nothing's going to happen.
And this MP3 you have is
it's called muscular relaxation. So if we share this video, Seb, we can put the I'll put the link to it under it, and people can get the download from me.
Okay. Yay.
So I think that's can we wrap it up now? I think we should do another one, Seb, don't you?
Yeah. All right.
I think we could do these. Good. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good. All right.
Getting our word out there.
Yeah, well done. Well done. I had some questions around everything serving us to bring us into more connection with our higher self. So just getting that life's coming through us, and that, as part of consciousness, if we can engage consciously, and so just to have more consciousness in our relationships. So for example, so recognizing that higher self brings us what we need, and when we can start to appreciate that and get into a more conscious relationship rather than being on the receiving end of our, this is happening.
Perhaps we could make, we could do a session around that for everybody, Seb, on conscious relationships, as far as our understanding, the two of us, goes, and how that slots into a fifth dimensional conscious reality. That would be a good one to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and separating from other people's energies comes into that too.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks ever so much for the.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Hazel. Yeah, I'd love to do that again. That's it's fun.
We will, and I'll put all my details under this video if people want to connect with me or go to my website. And if you want to put yours, we can do that as well. Okay.
Yay. All right.
All right then, Seb, I'm going to stop the recording now, and lots of love.
Lots of love, yes.